Hello everyone. Today we will be talking about glazing. Glazing is a watercolor technique and it is also called layering because glazing or layering means stacking up one color on top of another color when we are painting. So here I am showing how I do it. So I mix a watery consistency of whatever paints I need. Yellow for example and blue. As you can see, I mix very little paint as per the requirement. I don't mix huge quantities in a go. We will do the sleeve. First I have already done wet on wet and allowed it to dry completely. Now we'll take some color, but before that the brush, it should be a soft bristle brush, which is what I am using. This is a number 8, I think Aqua. It's not a natural hairbrush, it is a Kolinsky imitation. So take your colors, but I think this yellow looks a bit too heavy. I'll mix in some more water. So look how I'm mixing. If I think that there's more water, then I'm taking some more paint from the corner of that yellow with the help of my brush and then mixing it in if I need more paint. But if I need more water, just add it. Now we start from the yellow area because the sleeve is completely dry. We can add whatever colors when we are doing layering. So I'm adding yellow and I will change the color of this yellow. So I'm taking some blue. It will make it green. Yeah, it will. Right now I have only darkened the colors. So layering is one way whereby you can darken your colors. Because any which ways, in the final output, watercolor will dry lighter. This first step is adding of more colors on the already painted wet on wet surface, which is dried. Now once it is completely dry, I want to change the color of this leaf, and let's see what we do. So I'm putting in a much darker color over here. I'm adding blue on top of yellow. It's making it green, but relatively less dark as compared to the right side or the top of this leaf. So this is the second time that we are doing layering. It is also called glazing because we are using very thin layers, just like thin glazes of transparent paint. Right now I'm not using any of the granulating colors. We'll come to that later. I just want to create a highlight at the bottom right hand, so I'm leaving that space. I'm just glazing with water now. Once this layer is done, we need to leave it to dry completely. once it is completely dry, like now, I will put in another layer. This time I am using a thinner brush because I need to put in the details. I'll put in some of the details. I'm using a dark red perylene maroon over here to indicate some damage in the leaf, some crumpled up leaf, and pink also you can add because it mixes with green. On top of green, it will give you a different shade. It will not look like pink. So I'm taking a pink. Now I have put in this thin line. I need to blend it. This is an additional process. Here I am putting in just a layer of water so as to blend the crisp edge of that line. I don't want it very crisp, so we need to blend it with water using a small thin brush because the line is small and thin. You can see that from the previous layering, the yellowish side has gone darker because I added a completely different color, blue on top of yellow. So you can change your colors through layering. You can change the saturation, which is what is happening on the right hand side when I am adding green to the right hand side. Then you can also change in values. For example, right now I'm changing the value. I'm not painting the whole leaf, right side of the leaf or any part of the leaf in one color. That means that I am coming up with one color, diluting that color as I go down or where the lighter value is required, and accordingly I am applying as per the requirement of this leaf. So I will apply darker color only where it is required, and I'll use lighter values of that same color where that is required. Thereby layering is allowing you to change the colors, change the values. Here there is a small speck of dust or something. There's one small spot which I don't want to touch now because I don't want to disturb the painting, and I am putting in colors over there. So I've left it like that. Once I allow this leaf to dry, at that time, once it is dried, then I will take it out. We are intensifying the colors here It is no more that pale light yellow. So now we can't touch it, we allow it to dry. Or in certain sections, let's say the top part where it is pretty dry, there I can add some colors. I'm using a thin brush because it will take up very less water and paint, and allow me to add specific marks. It is a size 0 I am using. I am going over this area where I had applied water because it is almost dry. But it is said that we do not touch it when a painting is drying. So I didn't tamper much with it. Plus the weather is not right now not very humid here. It's generally a dry weather condition, so it dries quickly. So here we are again applying a layer. This is the third layer, I think. I'm not counting how many layers. So here also we are adding more saturated color and we are changing values by layering. So we leave it here to dry. So we are doing another layer after it has dried, the paper painting has dried. I have put in quite a dark color here. I will need to merge it with the rest of it. Merge it in a way where it will not stand out, because it's not required to stand out. So here I merge. Take in some water. The brush needs to have some water for the merging process, but not a lot that it will create a blot. No, not that. Just enough to allow the merging to happen. So upper part you see I've thinned it. So I'm going to the lower and the middle section of this part. Taking in some perylene maroon to add the brown color. It's not brown, but once you add with green, then it will show up as brown. But perylene maroon does have a brownish tinge to it. It will look depending on what all colors are there underneath. Building up the vein area, there's only one main vein which we have to build in the sleeve, and the rest will be kind of blurred. We still have to work, a lot of work is required still. Diffusing the excess paint. When diffusing, ensure that there is water in your bristles, not dripping, but it should be wet, so as to allow the diffusion to happen. Otherwise you will get streaks on the painting. If you don't want that, you don't want it. I'm using cobalt blue, but I'm also intermittently using a granulating pigment, which is ultramarine blue, because this leaf can use some granulation. Though it is not a very good idea to use granulating colors because the effect of granulation is something else. You cannot control it very much, so you will have to allow that granulation to work for itself with the use of water. So if I'm layering with certain colors where I don't want the flow of paint to occur in a way in which it wants to, then I restrict from using granulating colors. It's a matter of personal choice. Here I am changing the shape a bit so as to make it look more even, this part. Allow it to dry. So once this area is dried, then put in more colors.